saw some new names and faces, so it's wonderful to have you here. And for those of you who are coming back to a second class or a third or a fourth, I appreciate that. I'm excited that you're all joining me. Today, we're going to explore how to build connection and collaboration through what we call in the world of Montessori a classroom meeting. Sometimes it's called a community meeting, and it's also been applied to the home setting for family meetings as well. Before we dive into that, I would like to share just a few details about myself so that you get to know me. So my name is Heather White. I'm a former Montessori classroom teacher, administrator, and in-home caregiver with more than 15 years of experience in the world of Montessori. And currently, I work as an educational coach. I work in multiple capacities with the Center for Guided Montessori Studies, including as their alumni conference and webinar coordinator, and also as their accreditation associate. And I also work as an instructional guide with them, supporting adult learners who are working to receive their Montessori certification. In addition to that, I'm an adjunct professor at Sarasota University, which is the only accredited institution of higher education that's dedicated solely to Montessori. I'm also a blog writer and content creator for several organizations, including the American Montessori Society. I hold certifications from the American Montessori Society in the 3 to 6 and 6 to 9 age groups, and have experience working with children from birth through adolescence. I have a master's in education with a concentration in Montessori studies and an education specialist degree in school psychology. I'm also a nationally certified school psychologist and have an anti-bias, anti-racist certificate from AMS, as well as a national certification as a Montessori coach. So then what are we going to get into today? We're going to start by discussing what a family meeting is and what a classroom meeting is. And then we'll take a look at how these gatherings empower children and families to develop skills that really facilitate those collaboration skills, those problem-solving abilities. And finally, I'll provide some insights into how to structure these meetings so that they're effective. And we'll talk about some of the benefits of these meetings. So I wanted to start here with a quote. For those of you who are back for another session, you know that I do like to anchor presentations at the beginning and the end with a quote just to really give us some inspiration. So this quote here is by Chip DiLorenzo. Chip DiLorenzo is the co-author of the book Positive Discipline in the Montessori Classroom. It is a fantastic resource. And Chip says the class meeting is the key to creating a democratic environment that develops mutual respect, cooperation, and responsibility. And so this is what we're looking to create with these meetings, both in the classroom setting and in the home environment. We're looking to create a space that fosters this sense of respect amongst all that are involved, parents, children, teachers, students, and helps them cooperate with one another to solve problems and creates this sense of shared responsibility for the things that are happening in that space. So then what are class meetings? A class meeting, also sometimes referred to as a community meeting, those words are used interchangeably in the school setting, is a structured time where the whole class comes together. Preferably this happens once a day, but sometimes that's not possible with scheduling. Sometimes it's once a week, twice a week. But it's a time where students and teachers discuss important classroom issues. They plan events together and they share their work with one another. The purpose of this meeting is to foster that sense of collaboration, right? To allow opportunities for problem solving and to create that sense of community responsibility, just like Chip's quote said. Students really take ownership of these meetings. They add topics to the meeting agenda in advance. And then at the meeting, students fulfill different roles, including the note taker, the timekeeper, the agenda keeper who controls when you move on from one topic to the next and what's next in that list of topics to cover. And that happens in chronological order. So if each of us were to put an idea on the list, whoever's idea was added first, we would handle and discuss that challenge first, and we would work our way through the list chronologically. And what we're doing in these sessions is allowing children to bring forth things that are upsetting to them or that are causing them some kind of challenge so that they can discuss it as a whole group. And these might be individual concerns, something that's just bothering a single child. It might be a conflict amongst a pair of students or a small group of classmates. And it gives them a forum to discuss their challenges and to get ideas from their fellow students on how to solve their problem. Or it might be a whole group challenge, something like um, the bathroom door is getting locked and it's inaccessible, or someone's eating too much snack and there's not enough to go around for everyone. So it allows this forum where challenges of multiple different types are able to be discussed and that the children can all work together to develop solutions and to try them out. A well-run class meeting then is this opportunity to strengthen the culture in a classroom and to empower children to really take ownership. That's what we're looking for with that sense of responsibility, right? We want the children to be empowered to take charge and to make decisions and to solve problems and also to care for their environment and one another. And that's what we provide with a class or community meeting. So then what does that look like when we transfer the idea to the home setting? So again, family meetings are a really powerful way to strengthen bonds, to build trust, to create that sense of connection. They give that same supportive space where instead of classmates, where family members can come together so that they can openly communicate with one another, that they can collaborate to solve problems. And it really creates this beautiful bond and continuity and family life in the home setting. These meetings encourage children and really all family members to express their thoughts and feelings, which helps everyone to feel valued, to feel heard, to feel understood. It also promotes cooperation with family rules that are established or responsibilities for different family members because it gives an opportunity to talk through these things and for the family to come to a solution that's mutually agreed upon, that gives that buy-in, that sense of responsibility we were talking about, without parents feeling like they need to hover to make sure things are getting accomplished. And most importantly, I think family meetings give parents this really valuable insight into a child's well being. It gives children the opportunity to share openly about what they think and how they're feeling, which might be missed in the otherwise busy schedules that we have, the rush of daily life, right? A child might not feel like they have the opportunity to sit down and tell you what they're thinking or how they're feeling. So this gives a really unique opportunity for parents to really see and hear and understand their children. I think it is important to mention that just as every family is unique, every family meeting is also unique. So these meetings can take different forms to fit an individual family's needs. That might be how the agenda runs, how often they're held. Some families choose to have them while eating dinner, while others prefer to have them separately so that the focus is just on conversation. So there is some flexibility there in meeting each family's needs. So now that we know what these class meetings and family meetings are, let's take a look at how they run more specifically. So a structured class meeting is really important to create that respectful, productive space where students feel that they have the freedom to collaborate. So a typical format starts with compliments and appreciations. This encourages students to recognize kindness that's happening around them, hard work or effort, maybe of themselves or their classmates, and achievements. And it really sets the tone for starting the meeting on a positive note, right? We're complimenting other classmates, we're appreciating their work and their efforts, and the teacher can be involved in this as well. The students might acknowledge the teacher might acknowledge the students. So it gives that open forum to start things on a positive note. And then the group takes some time to go back and revisit on prior solutions. So they're following up, checking in on previously discussed issues to see if those solutions are working. Sometimes they are, and it's just a matter of stating, wonderful, okay, we'll keep trying that solution then, and we'll check in the future. And other times it might be that you need to go back to the problem solving step, to the brainstorming time with the students and try to find a new solution, because that solution that was previously decided upon isn't working very well for everyone. After following up on the prior solutions, then the group moves forward to reviewing the agenda items. This is where students have the opportunity to share their feelings while their classmates listen to them. And they should be able to recognize that some issues might need immediate solutions, and those would take precedence. So we talked about that chronological order, right? But if it was something that where it might be more pressing, it might move forward. And that would be a vote that the children have to determine the order. And there's other issues that students might add to the agenda and they might bring up that don't need an immediate solution. And rather, it's just an acknowledgement. A child just wants to be heard that something is bothering them. So these challenges can be presented and discussed with the group, but don't necessarily need fixing. So you might be able to move on past those more quickly. When it's necessary, however, this is the time that the class works together to brainstorm these constructive solutions to the challenges that are presented. So those challenges that children added to the agenda, when necessary, as they come up in the meeting, the children will vote, will brainstorm, and will decide upon as a group what a proper solution might be that they would like to try. And then at the end of the meeting, it's important to take some time to discuss future plans, things like field trips that might be coming up or celebrations at the school, maybe classroom projects that the students are working on. Involving the students in having these conversations, especially if it includes planning the events, promotes that same sense of buy-in, that same sense of ownership. Children are excited about these things that are coming up because they had a hand in creating them. And it also gives this really unique opportunity for children to be responsible for some of that organization and planning, right? It creates a sense of order and routine. They know what to expect. And it also helps them understand all of that hard work that goes into these events behind the scenes. So it really does help them be more independent, more appreciative, and creates that sense of ownership and buy-in. I wanted to share with you a video snippet of a Montessori class meeting, just so that you could get an idea of what this looks like in practice, because I think it's a little hard to understand in theory. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to really see what this looks like in a class setting. So I just want to make sure the volume is up here so you'll be able to hear it well, and we'll get started.
Our compliments and appreciations. If you don't have one, you just pass. Thank you. And then we will come back and we'll try and solve the problem that's in our agenda today. Everybody cool? Okay. Let's see. I would like to compliment Calvin and Felicia, because today during Reader's Workshop, at first they both really wanted to sit on the chair and they were kind of like talking about who was going to be there, and then they solved that problem pretty well. So I'd like to compliment you for that.
I would like to compliment Allison and Shin Chen, because they went to me with library. It's like the same thing.
Can you speak a little louder, sweetie?
Alicia for playing with me. I would like to compliment Samara and Alicia. Okay.
For what? Can you tell us a little more?
With the pen box.
Okay.
Something I like to compliment I would like to compliment, appreciate her for helping with me with this. And I also would like to appreciate Miss Kelly for letting us have free time.
Oh, you're welcome.
I would like to appreciate Kevin because he let me go playing with him.
I would like to compliment the whole class on how nicely that round went. Okay, we haven't done this before. This is our first time that someone has written a problem in the agenda. So I want to describe to you what that process looks like for solving a problem. So what will happen is I'll read the problem today, and we will go around the room. If the person who wrote it wants to say more and explain it, then they can, and they should, because then it'll give us some background information for the problem. And then we can pass the talking turtle around, and if you have a suggestion for a way they could solve that problem, then that would be really helpful. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm gonna, is that how you did it in first grade? Okay, so it says, today, Ayan and Zewin were provoking me.
What? Provoking?
Would the person who wrote this like to say a little bit more? Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about the problem? What do you, because I heard a classmate say they're not sure what the word provoking means. Can you explain what that means?
Provoking means like if somebody's bothering you and stuff. Like if somebody took something from you and then you keep on whining for it, that's provoking.
Okay. So it's kind of like somebody's bothering you, and you know, like if somebody keeps...
Like if you had a pen and somebody took it from you.
Yeah, and they keep doing it over and over, and it's provoking you, it's making you feel like you want to get angry or you don't like it, okay? I'll take it back. Thank you for saying that. Calvin, do you have a possible suggestion?
No, it's something about...
Okay.
Sometimes when people provoke, they mean to do, like they mean to take something away. So then, because they want to see the person do that.
Okay, so that might be a reason for the behavior. We've talked a little bit about reasons for behavior, right? We've said that sometimes if somebody is bossing or provoking, it might mean that they're hurt in some way. So anybody have a suggestion for a solution for Lolly at the moment? So tell Lolly, okay?
Well, maybe you can tell them that they're bothering you and then to stop.
Thank you.
You could say, please stop. I don't
Okay. Lolly, your hand is up. Do you have something to say back to those suggestions?
I told them to stop, but they didn't.
Okay, so let me have, anybody have a solution now knowing that he said over and over, it's, that's really bothering me. What are you thinking now would be the next?
Ask a friend or teacher for help.
Okay, good suggestion.
You could talk to them, or then you could walk away if they have 2 steps.
What could he say? Do we have a suggestion? So Samaya just said,
I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. I think that you get the idea, right? That it starts out with those compliments and appreciations, starting the meeting on a positive note. And this was an instance where, as the teacher said, the students were just learning how this works. So as the students get a little more experience with using the agenda and having these problem-solving discussions, they would take more ownership, right? Someone would be reading the problem from the agenda. Someone would be keeping the time. That role that the teacher's playing and passing the talking turtle and prompting the discussion, students would begin stepping in and filling those roles. And from here, right, what would happen is the solutions would be brought forward. And then since this was only impacting a single child, that child would decide which of those solutions might work that he would like to try. If it's a challenge that is impacting the entire class, then there's a vote, or multiple children, then there's a vote on what they would like to choose based on the ideas that came up during the brainstorming. And then once again, they would move past this segment of the class meeting and would move into either closing things on a positive note. Sometimes that's with a song, or some kind of read aloud, or talking about future events, right? Planning those field trips or celebrations like we discussed earlier. So now that we know what it looks like in a class setting, what does it look like in a home setting? What's the format for a family meeting in the home setting? And this is really similar. It creates that predictable rhythm. It makes it easier for everyone to know what to expect, to participate, and to engage with one another. And remember, like I said, that every family is unique. So these meetings will take different forms to fit a family's needs. But one format that you might consider trying, that's inspired by Montessori principles, starts by establishing and reviewing ground rules. It's really clear expectations that build trust and create that sense of respect. You want to involve children in creating these rules, right? Making sure that they feel heard. Keep the rules simple, things like active listening during meetings, no interruptions when someone else is speaking, using respectful language. And it can be helpful to post these rules somewhere where everyone is able to see them. And you can start the meetings by reviewing them just to make sure that everyone remembers how these meetings go. Then you want to check in with everyone and see how they're doing. Ask questions. This is that serves that same purpose of those acknowledgments and appreciations in the class setting. You can ask questions like, what was the best part of your week? And really make sure that you're allowing space for all family members to share, right? You want to show empathy. You want to be actively listening. And then take some time to celebrate some milestones and efforts, whether that's big or small. Let children acknowledge their own achievements and also the achievements of others. Try to find a balance between that individual success, but also shared family successes, things that went really well for the family as a whole. Then review the chores for the week, right? You want to look at assigning age appropriate tasks for children and involve them in choosing those tasks. That creates that sense of ownership, that buy-in. They're more excited to do those things when they have the opportunity to be involved in selecting what it is they'd like to do. Discuss why chores are important. A lot of children, especially elementary age children, need to know why they're doing the things they do, not just what they're doing, but why. So help them understand that we all chip in and do our part, and that creates a really harmonious home environment for everyone. Then you can move on to talk about upcoming events and commitments that you have as a family. Again, give children the opportunity to share their input and to be a part of planning these events. It gives them that buy-in. It develops their sense of responsibility. It also helps them develop time management skills. So if you're looking at the upcoming week and someone has volleyball practice and mom has to work late because she has a meeting and you have a birthday on a certain day, talk about all of those things so that they can see what the week as a whole looks like. That way, when they ask something like, can I go play with my friend, or can I have Susie come sleep over? They understand when you say, this week's a really busy week, maybe next week would be better, right? It makes it easier for them to see the scope of what's going on for the whole family, and kind of takes them out of that egocentricness that sometimes children display. Then you can spend a few minutes doing a fun family activity as part of the meeting. So it shouldn't all be about business, right? Especially in a family setting. Encourage children to suggest activities that they would like to do, and then rotate who chooses each week. You want to keep it simple. It's really the connection that matters the most rather than some extravagant activity, right? And then end the meeting on a positive note. So just like you started the meeting in the classroom with those acknowledgments, those appreciations, it's important to end a family meeting in the same way, sharing that gratitude, fostering that sense of connection. Maybe there's a group hug or some mantra that you share with one another. I know some families do a moment of silence because that's closing the family meeting and kind of helps them all leave and enter the week on a calm, peaceful note. Again, it's about doing what feels right for your family. And here again is just a short video about what a family meeting looks like. So you get an inside scoop on that, make it a little easier to understand how these operate.
1, 2, 3, high five!
I am Erin.
And I'm Josh.
And we have 5 kids.
And we're still alive to tell about it.
If you're looking to take your family from just surviving to thriving, you have to be intentional about it.
And the best way to do this is with a weekly family meeting.
I call this meeting to order.
Family meeting is so important because it's an intentional time that we set aside each week to focus on the things that our family needs to focus on so that we can be the best family we can be.
The good, the bad, whatever we got. Got it?
Family meetings can take anywhere from 15 quick minutes to 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the age range of your kids. But the bottom line is that it doesn't need to take very long to connect and get on the same page.
We do our family meetings on late Sunday mornings, and it's just a great way to kick off the week and let the kids know what to expect in the week to come. One of the first things on the agenda are high fives.
I'm gonna high five Tyler for basketball practice, his first basketball practice ever.
You give a high five by noticing something that your siblings do and letting them know that you're thankful for them doing that.
High five. Good job, bud.
The next thing on the agenda is family calendar and family menus. We talk about all of the activities for the week so everybody's on the same page. Now we need to talk about meals. We talk about the menu. The kids kind of chime in with what they would like to see on the menu that week. Sometimes we take their suggestions, sometimes we don't.
Chili.
It's a really good way for us to be on the same page and know what the week ahead will bring us. Right?
Another thing that happens during family meeting is we discuss personal challenges. Once a month, we come up with a new personal challenge for each person in the family. And it could be anything from practicing my cursive writing to working on my handstand to practice dribbling with my left hand. And the parents also get involved too, which is great because they can see us actually working towards being a better person too. We always want to end on a high note, so what we do is a little family fun. One of the kids gets to decide what the family fun is going to be for that meeting, something that we can all do around the table, and it could be something like telephone, or we draw and we can do a little bit of competition, who can guess what the drawing is. Just a little fun way to wrap up the family meeting.
Yes.
Woo!
We end our family meeting with a clap up. So just like at the end of a sports game, the whole team kind of comes around. The agenda leader gets to choose what word we break it to, and so it's usually something crazy.
2, 3,
And then we take a family picture.
It's just kind of fun to look back at how the kids have grown. It's just a fun way to document what we've done as a family.
Families all look different, so family meetings are going to look different too.
But the important thing is just to make the time to be consistent and to stay connected.
All right, so you could see in that example some of the things we talked about, right? You could see that they were mentioning some of the same strategies, ending on a positive note. They did that clap together in place of, we talked about a mantra or a moment of silence. They talked about some of the things to come as far as events that week, the menu. They set challenges for one another, and you can also see how they kind of customized it to meet their family's needs. So just an idea of what that looks like in practice. So now that we know how these classroom and family meetings operate, I think it's important to talk about how you can make them work most successfully. So to create a really successful child-centered experience, these tips can be helpful. First, when thinking about setting the stage for these meetings, make sure that everyone is sitting in a circle with the adults at the same level as the children. You can see in the classroom, they were all sitting on the floor. In the family meeting, they were all sitting at the table. It's really important to make sure everyone can see every other participant, and that everybody's on the same level, literally, because that makes sure everyone's on the same level figuratively, right? And working together and feeling acknowledged and feeling seen as they're sharing their concerns. As children gain experience, like we were talking about with the classroom meeting, it's also important to allow them to gradually take on more leadership roles in running these meetings. So the agenda keeper, the timekeeper, you heard the family talking about the children being able to choose what activity they did as far as the drawing or singing a song, the child who got to choose the word that they said when they did the clap at the end. When you move into sharing compliments, as they did in the classroom video, try to use a talking item. They had the talking turtle. In my classroom for many years, we used a talking stick. If you were here for my last class on peace corners, we talked about having a peace flower, so you could use that peace flower as a talking object as well. This helps to make sure it gives a concrete understanding for children of how to respectfully take turns in speaking. When you move into the brainstorming session where you're trying to develop solutions to problems, make sure that children are passing that talking item so that everyone gets the opportunity to share their perspectives, to share the solutions they think might work. As the adult, it's important that we don't comment on suggestions until it's our turn. Instead, we might ask questions like the teacher did, something like, well, how could you turn that into a suggestion? Or could you tell us a little more? Just to prompt the children, but without adding our own subjective interpretations. We don't want to add any of our biases or judgments. We just want to give the children a space to share, and then we can share when it's our turn. As you saw for the family and in the class meeting, every idea during that brainstorming session should be recorded. You could jot it down in your agenda notebook, maybe on a flip chart, a whiteboard, a piece of paper, just to make sure that every idea is noted as they arise. And it's important to know that the brainstorming time isn't a time where anyone, the adult or the children, make judgment about the ideas. Even if it's something you know can't happen or won't work, allow the brainstorming session to happen, allow everyone to openly share their ideas. And then when you move into the discussion piece, when you're voting, you can say, I'm not really sure that will work. It could be something that you just don't have the materials for or the time for, something that's not respectful to someone else. But that would be the time that you go through some of those judgments and talking through ideas, but not in the brainstorming session itself. After the brainstorming session, when you move into kind of reviewing the ideas, that's where you can remove the ones that are hurtful, disrespectful, things that are impractical, right? And you can send the talking item around again to encourage deeper thinking. Someone might want to pull their idea off or add a new idea. The students or the children can share, I don't really think that works for me, and give their own reasons. So it's kind of going through another level of deeper problem solving where you are evaluating those ideas that came up during the brainstorming session. And then finally, when it comes to time to make the decision, like I was saying earlier, if the challenge affects the entire family or the entire class, or even a group of children, then a vote is taken, right? Whoever is involved decides on what works for them. So the entire class, a small group. If it's a single child, then they will make a decision. A vote or a discussion wouldn't be needed, right? But the parties who are involved are choosing what works best. Here are some benefits of holding class or community meetings and family meetings. They really provide a great opportunity for children to develop listening skills, to learn how to brainstorm and problem solve. It helps create this sense of mutual respect amongst everyone, adults and children, child to child, child to adult. It gives this really wonderful opportunity for children to cool off and also to try to solve their own problems, right? It creates this space. So if I know I'm going to add my challenge to the agenda and wait until the next family or class meeting, often what happens, especially in a classroom setting, is by the time you bring up that agenda item at the class meeting, the children have already worked it out. It gave them a minute to stop, to cool down, clearer heads will prevail, and they're able to then solve their problems on their own. And so it really just gives this kind of intentional pause where children are able to either solve things on their own or at least come to a space where they're ready to talk about things with a clearer head. And you can even share that with children in a family or classroom setting of the way that the brain works, right? We talk about flipping our lid, where when we're upset, all of our the blood in our brain and all of our focus shifts into our lower brain, which is our emotional brain, and we're not able to access the upper part of our brain, which is our thinking brain. And so that's what the meeting, the agenda gives them the opportunity to do, is to cool down, for their lid, not to have their lid flipped in their brain, and to be able to access that rational thought. It also creates this sense of empathy and concern for others. It helps children learn how to cooperate. It creates that sense of accountability, that sense of responsibility, right, to others, to the environment, to oneself. It helps children develop this social interest in what works for not just for themselves, but for the group as a whole. And then finally, and I think perhaps most importantly, it helps children learn that mistakes aren't bad, that everyone makes mistakes. We're all human. It develops this growth mindset, right? That mistakes are really just a wonderful opportunity to learn, to work with others to find a new solution, and helps them continue growing in that way. All right, before I open it up to questions, I just wanted to say thank you all for being here. Hopefully you learned a lot of helpful information about class and family meetings and how they can empower children and build that sense of connection and collaboration. I'll leave my contact information up here for a few minutes if you wanted to reach out or follow me on social media. My handle there is at montessori.matters. And I look forward to connecting with you after today's session as well.
That is very phenomenal, as usual, as expected from Professor Heather White. Thank you very much, Ms. White, on behalf of the entire family of Atlantic International University. It is another opportunity for me, ladies and gentlemen, to say thank you to each and every one of you because Ms. White has proved that successful because you decided to join us for this outstanding academic session. Thank you again. It is time right now, brothers and sisters, like Ms. White put it, for you to ask questions. You may raise your questions right within this platform. You all know how to go to